YouTube, once again, back again, guys. 2017, new video, new guitar. I had this guitar for a long time. I just basically, it was lent out, and I finally got it back. So I'm doing a new video on this here, which I should have done a long time ago. Okay, but guys, what you're looking at here is a Hondo electric guitar, a Hondo Stratocaster. And for people who know about guitars, you should know this name. But if you don't, look it up. But anyway, guys, Hondo's been around for a long time, and like I said, if you know guitars, you know the name. They've made anything guitars from beginner, intermediate to expensive guitars. This here is basically a intermediate guitar that certain companies back in the 70s and 80s, their intermediate guitars or beginner guitars were just as good as today's intermediate or professional guitars. Certain companies, and I'm not saying all. But this was just one of those companies that actually did that. Okay, now nothing extraordinary about this guitar as far as anything feature-wise. It's basically a Strat copy that has all the bells and whistles that a Strat gives you, except for one thing that I will say that's a little different. All right, let's go with the body here. Let's take a look. Your basic Stratocaster body, nothing special, nothing taken away. 3 single coil pickups, 2-tone, 1 volume. Now guys, that's a 3-way selector. That's not a 5-way selector. So either you're in the neck, the middle, or the bridge, and that's it. Okay? So, exact replica of a Fender Stratocaster. I think a late 60s style. Okay? And the bridge is pretty much the same as your normal style Fender bridge from back in the day. It still has to be set up. I don't know what my buddy did when he had this, but I can tell he played with the saddles. It's missing an E string. He blew an E string. That's usually the first thing people do when they give you a guitar back. The E string is blown. But normal input selector, guitar selector there, jack selector. I'm sorry. Like I said, the bridge is your standard, Strat bridge. Nothing crazy. Older style saddles. Okay. As we go up here, there's your 3 single pickups. You got a rosewood neck, deep. It's basically Asia had a lot of different exotic woods back then, and this style of rosewood is a lot different than some of the other styles of rosewood that you see. There's the headstock, a bullet truss rod, as you see. That's actually a phenolic nut. It's not your basic cheap plastic nut. It's actually an okay nut. Okay. Now the headstock on this here, as you see Hondo on the headstock here. Now it has the design of some of the harmonies. Some people are probably saying that's like a harmony headstock. It has the same design, and I found out that it wasn't made by them. It was made by a totally different company from back in the day. Now it has the original tuners. Everything is original in this guitar. String trees, etc. They're the Backplate kind, which actually has the little thing in the back of it. Okay, which is a little bit different. So that's basically it on that. Now I wrote down the history of the company. I just want to briefly go over that because it's very interesting how the company is. It's very interesting on how the company went through its phases and changes back then. Okay, so you probably can't see, there's a little crackling on the body from the original crackling on the finish of the guitar also. Okay, let me show the back real quick. So the original Gotha style tuners, they're not Gotha, but they're designed and styled in the same factory that copied the Gothas back in the day. They look exactly like that, but they're not the exact Gothas. They have the same shape and length, but they're not. Now that's one of the things I want to read off on the paper about what the company did to specifically make things better for the company as the 70s went on. Still has the original inspection sticker on there also. They use their own type. Now remember, Asia used very exotic woods back then, so a lot of times you saw those Asian guitars back in those days, 70s and 80s, and you say, wow, the wood looks totally different than some of the ones that are over here. That's because back in the day, the rainforest wasn't as bad shape as it is now, so they were able to, they had first dibs on the high quality wood back in those days. So that's why a lot of the Asian guitars had really high quality wood. Even though they made their guitars inexpensive, they still used higher quality wood. Okay. Now the back plate, this is all original too in the back. There's nothing different in the rear here. It's all the same. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to read off the history of Hondo. If I have enough time, I'm probably running out of time, but I'll try to get as much as I can in here. Now remember, Hondo 2 came out earlier in the 80s, which I'll get to in a second. I just want to read off the company history just to give you guys an idea of how Hondo conducted business. For the most part, as most of us know, the Hondo was originally an American company, but they were actually owned by two guys. They actually decided to produce guitars by that time. So, but like I said, they were basically an American company, branded and owned by IMC, which is International Music Corporation. From 1972 to 89, the guitars are mainly produced by Samick, which a lot of people don't realize. Samick made so many different brands of guitars. This was actually one of the companies that they made. Okay. So they came out with a short-lived professional series that was made in Japan, and that was it. 99% of the Hondos are made in Korea, not Japan. Okay, if you had a professional series, they were made in Japan, but just for a very, very short time. 2005, the JB Player brand replaced Hondo. I'm just going to say that real quick now. In 2005, JB Player, if you've heard of that brand, that's basically the new Hondo these days. Which people are saying, why would they do that? But that's what they did. Now, the IMC of Fort Worth, Texas, it was a joint venture with Korea's Samick to make those guitars. Originally formed by Jerry Freed and Tommy Moore in '69 to make American-Japanese quality. To make American/Japanese quality, bringing that to the Korean market, try to get them on the upscale market. By 1975, Hondo was sold in more than 70 countries worldwide. In 1976, the bicentennial banjo burst saw 22,000 banjos being sold alone that year. They stepped up their quality game and improved their quality control by beginning using a higher quality brand of tuning machines, which is on this guitar here. That was one of the things that they wanted to do. They wanted to improve quality control. They wanted to improve pieces of their guitar. So that's what they did. Now, Hondo's was the first overseas guitar builders to feature American-built DiMarzio pickups, okay, on their import instruments, starting in 1978. Also that year, Hondo 2 began to pop up with different basic types and different classic style American guitars. In '79, over 790,000 plus instruments were sold worldwide, okay. In 1980, the professional series was released, featuring a higher-end Japanese made guitars. Remember, their top stuff was were made in Japan. Actually, they were made by Tokai, Matsumuku, up until 1983. Okay, by 1985, IMC had a major interest in Charvel Jackson, which they began dedicating more time and interest in the higher-end guitar market. So Hondo was actually going by 1989, okay? That's one of the sad stories, okay? Until Jerry Freed started the Jerry Freed International Company in '89 and acquired the rights of Hondo in 1989. Hondo guitars were back on the plane in 1991. People started seeing Hondo guitars back on the market, okay? So that was one of the big things. Freed started distributing of a new line of Hondo guitars produced in India, China, and Taiwan. In 1993, the revamped company was also relocated to Florida. Once again, Hondo Company was purchased by MBT International, now Music Corporation. Okay, so in 1995, the line was revamped for improved quality while still offering student-friendly prices. Hondo celebrated 25 years of guitar making in 1997. Music Corporation also owns JB Player Instruments, which replaced Hondo name in 2005. Okay, guys, that was just a brief little history on the company. Okay, that's just what I just wanted to go by that real quick. Now, Hondo prices of their guitars have shot up in the past 3, 4, 5 years. A basic Stratocaster like this, in this condition, can go from anywhere from $125 to $200. Nothing crazy, nothing expensive. But remember, these guitars were just copycats. And a lot of the American companies were putting these guitars down because of this and that. But when reality came to it, they were just as good using the same methods And then later on, as we saw, most of the American companies got their stuff made in Korea, China, and Japan anyway. So basically, okay, guys, I just wanted to run down the history of the company. And you don't see a whole lot of these guitars around anymore. This is the second one I saw. There was the first one we saw, and the first one I saw was a few years ago, and he had it for sale. A buddy of mine had it for sale in the store, and there's a really good guitarist that I know who saw this, played it, and snatched it right up. He only buys certain guitars that sound a certain way, and this exact guitar was there, and he snatched it up. Just when I thought about getting it, I would continuously go in the store and say, man, I want that guitar, I want it. But the only problem is black and white. I get tired of the black and white ones, man. So I left it, guy, and he picked it up. But I came across this one a little bit later, and I said, I gotta get it. I'm not gonna let another Hondo pass me up. But okay, guys, here's just a brief history of a rare Asian/American guitar. First company to use DiMarzio pickups, which are in these. Great sounding Strat, really thick, rich mid-range tone, not overly bright, not dull at all. It's just a straight Strat copy to a T. I mean, you're using DiMarzio American pickups. What more could you want? So, okay, guys. As always, I just want to give you guys another guitar just to dream about, think about, or whatever you think about it. So, okay, guys. As always, God bless. Talk to you next time.